Music turned off right on the 0. Oh no, missed it. Okay, hi guys, we are live. Let me just put this to a full screen here. Welcome to the pre-market review, July 6th, Monday, July 6th, 2020. Hope you guys had a good 4th of July weekend out there in the States and a good weekend overall. If you didn't celebrate 4th of July, hope you all had a good weekend and you're ready to kick off this week in the markets. So I'm just going to explain very quickly what the pre-market overview is for those that have never been here before, and those that have never joined us before at this. So the point of it, the main thing we do during this overview is we go through our newsletter. So our newsletter is a document which I'll show you as we go through today. If you're not already subscribed to get that document sent to you, you can email us newsletter@tradewithufos.com and then we'll be able to get you on the subscription list for that, and you'll get it every day. So you have the same version that I'm looking through. What we do is we're going to go through that newsletter, which goes through 4 of the major markets in the world, the direction that they're moving in, how long we think that direction is going to last for, where price might turn, volatility, news, and just in general what's going on in those markets. So we cover quite a lot in the 15-20 minute videos that we do on the pre-market overviews in the morning. And as I said, we go through that newsletter. A couple of things to remind you of. My name's Becky, if I didn't say that already. You can email me, becky@tradewithufos.com, if you need me for anything, have questions. To be honest, the support team, always better and quicker at responses. So normally any questions that you have for us as individuals are best directed towards the support team. So you can email them, support@tradewithufos.com. I'm going to read the disclaimers. Before I do that, I'm just going to point out, obviously today being a Monday, we have futures on at 9 AM Eastern, and then we will have options and option sessions at 1 PM Eastern. You can see as well throughout the week, we obviously do stocks and investing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do sharpening over the weekend, which is reinforcing methodology or psychology sessions as well. In terms of upcoming courses, the next one we have is the psychology course. I know we say this all the time. For those that are part of the channel, you might get bored of us saying this, but psychology is so important when it comes to trading. So often overlooked. So many people want to focus just on methodology and not think about what is going on between their ears, which truly is one of the biggest reasons that a lot of people struggle in the markets, because they don't get this bit right. So the psychology course that we have upcoming, July 11th to 17th. Then we have backtesting, futures, stocks, and trading plans. I'll let you guys look through those dates and times whilst I read the disclaimers, and then we'll crack on and go through the newsletter. Okay, so the following videos, clips, demonstrations are for educational and instructional purposes only. Tradewitufos provides these videos purely for the purpose of demonstrating a method of using the product. Users understand that all the content used in the video is purely for demonstration purposes only and is not a guide and does not provide any indication or prediction of actual results. As a user, you understand and agree that hypothetical results obtained through the demonstration do not indicate in any way the results you may receive on using our products. The following presentation is for educational purposes only. All the symbols and trading ideas discussed are for demonstrating and are not recommendations. Active options and futures trading carries a high degree of risk and may not be suitable for all traders. Past historical trading performance or real or simulated trading does not guarantee success and may not be indicative of future results. You Can Trade is an online media publication service which provides educational investment content and ideas along with live trading demonstrations and does not provide investment or trading advice, research or recommendations of any kind. Please visit www.youcantrade.com for additional disclosure information. Great, there we go. So let's crack on and go through this newsletter. So I'm just going to zoom in here. So for those that are on a phone or something, there you go, big enough for you to see. This is the document that we go through. And again, it's a document you can subscribe to yourself so you get it sent to you. As I said, we go through 4 of the major markets in the world. We can see them here. So we go through the S&P, obviously one of the major indices in the world, oil and gold, both commodities, one in the form of energy, one in the form of metal, and the euro, one of the biggest currencies in the world. Again, with the euro, we're going against the US dollar, where we get the information from is the euro versus the US dollar. And the US dollar is itself responsible for 80% of transactions worldwide every single day across the markets. So we've covered quite a lot of what goes on out in the markets on a daily basis. Even if you don't trade those markets directly, what you trade will most likely be correlated with them. You'll also see that we're going through daily charts. So the time frame that we're using is a daily chart. Again, on different time frames, different things might happen, but a daily chart again might fall more with what most people do, whether you're a short-term day trader or a long-term position trader. Probably the daily comes in there in some capacity. Okay, so for each of them, what we'll do is we'll go through climate. By climate, what we mean is trend, basically. In what environment are we in? Is it in an upwards climate, an upwards move, upwards trend, or are we in a downwards climate, downward trend, downward move? We get the figures for the climate, or we get the information for the climate from our AutoClimate app, which tells us what direction that we're going in. Propagating also comes from the AutoClimate app, and what that gives us an idea of is how long we're likely to continue going in that direction, based on probabilities and averages and statistics. So it's all based on numbers, all based on probabilities. We then use our AutoUFO app to help us find nearest UFOs. UFO stands for unfilled orders. So what we mean by that is a big stack of buy orders that are waiting to turn price back up if price ever gets there, or a big stack of sell orders that are waiting to turn price back down if price ever gets there. So again, we use the AutoUFO app to help us find those on a chart. What we're also going to do is go through volatility, which is understanding how fast these markets are likely to move, or how far we expect them to go within certain periods of time. Okay, so we'll start with the S&P. You'll notice the symbol I'm using there is SPX.X. So let's get that up here. SPX.X. Here we go. I'm just going to move it a little bit here so that we can see it a little bit better. Stretch it out a bit so it's a bit bigger. Okay, great. So as we said, we have our AutoClimate app. That's what's on the bottom here. And what the AutoClimate app is showing us is a thick blue dot. Now, what that means is that the app is telling us we are in an upwards climate. Because it's a blue dot, that means it's an up climate. Because it's a thick dot, it means it's a confirmed upwards climate. That basically just means we have more probabilities in our favor if we were to get into a trade that followed that climate. We have greater statistics in our favor there. So thick blue dot, confirmed upwards climate. Now, in terms of UFOs, unfilled orders, the closest UFO for buyers is 31115.86 to 3101.17. That's the closest stack of buy orders, the closest green UFO or buy UFO that we expect to turn price upwards again when price gets there. And we can see we are just about there at the moment, literally just above it. That's where price is now. Closest sell UFO, where we would expect there to be sell orders that turn price back down, is 3207.18 to 3233.13. Again, that's where we would expect if price were to reach it, that there would be sell orders that would turn price back down. Okay, going back to the newsletter, let's understand how far we expect the climate to propagate. So we saw that we have a confirmed upwards climate because we have a thick blue dot. We can see on the newsletter here, we have a green upwards arrow with no cross next to it, which tells us that it's a confirmed upwards climate. If it was unconfirmed, then it would have a little cross next to it. Okay, so in terms of propagating, what this tells us, and I'm going to round up all of the second numbers, I'm going to round up, okay? So what this tells us is that the S&P goes up normally for 11 candles. Again, I've rounded that number. For 11 candles on a daily chart. That's the average, that's the statistics. And we are on candle number 2, which means we have probabilities on our side that that climate is likely to continue. It's not yet reached the average. It's not yet reached the statistics. Now, are there things that happen outside of statistical probabilities? Of course, statistics and numbers are always made up of anomalies as well, right? So this is not to say that it's definite, but it's all just about putting as many odds in our favor as we can. We do have a confirmed upwards climate, and we do have probability that it will last a little bit longer as well. And as we saw, we've also just hit a buy UFO. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. In terms of volatility, so what we mean by volatility, just to explain this quickly, is how fast we expect markets to move or how far we expect them to move within certain time periods. Now, where we get this information from, where we get this sort of expectation from, comes from the options pricing of these markets. So options are often traded by professional traders, especially in these big markets. When they're buying and selling options and effectively setting the price of them, inherent in that is the risk they're willing to take on the option, which is very much linked to how fast they think it's going to move. So basically, based on how far they think it's going to move, they set the price of the option, and then we get the implied volatility and prices or numbers from that price. So just a long way of saying that the numbers that we're showing here are basically a consensus of professional traders as to how far they think these prices will go. Okay, so everything is done in an annual way. So the number here on this one for the S&P, just to say we're using the VIX here to get the numbers for this, so VIX.X. So what this number here shows us is that we would expect in 1 year a movement of 27.67% either up or down in the S&P. And again, that number comes from the opinion of professional traders. Now we can reverse engineer that to understand what that means on smaller time frames. So It means we would expect a movement either up or down in one day on the S&P of 54.56 points. We would expect a movement up or down in 1 week in the S&P of 120.10 points. And we would expect a movement up or down in 1 month of 250.01 points. Okay, that's the S&P. Let's move on to oil. So the chart we're using for oil is at CL. That is the continuous futures contract for it, and that's the chart that we're using. So let's have a look here at CL. Here we are. Okay, once again, I'm just going to manipulate this chart a little bit to make it easier to view. There we go. So once again, we have our Also Climate app on the bottom. And once again, we have a thick blue dot. In fact, you'll see all of our markets today are in the same climate. So we have a confirmed upwards climate again, blue dot telling us that it's upwards, thick telling us that it's confirmed. So we have probabilities on our side there, a little bit more than if it was an unconfirmed climate. Now, in terms of UFOs, unfilled orders, buy orders, in terms of what could push price back up, the closest buy order is here, 39.84 to 38.85. Again, that's the closest buy UFO, green UFO, that we expect to turn price back up if price were to get there. And once again, we can see we're literally just there right now. We're just above it at the moment. Sell UFO all the way up here, 53.39 to 55.27. That's where we would expect there to be sell orders that could turn price back down if price were to go. Okay, so in terms of going back to the climate, we saw that we had a thick blue dot, so a confirmed upwards climate. Again, we can see that on the newsletter here. Now, in terms of probabilities as to how long we're likely to keep going upwards, what we see here is that oil normally goes up on a daily chart for 7 candles, so 7 days, and we're on day number 4. So about halfway, just over halfway into a normal or average movement to the upside on oil. So once again, we have odds in our favor with a thick confirmed climate. We also have odds in our favor that that climate will continue, and we've just hit a buy UFO. So same situation as we were in for the S&P as well. Now, in terms of volatility, let's understand how we expect oil to move. So we're using OVX.X. That's the chart that we use to get this information. So we know that in a year on this chart, we would expect movement on oil of up or down of 51.29%. Reverse engineered, what that means is we would expect a movement in 1 day of 1.32 points, either up or down. We would expect a movement in 1 week, either up or down of 2.90 points. And we would expect a movement in 1 month, either up or down of 6.04 points. Okay, moving on to gold. So once again, we're using the continuous futures contract that's at GC. So let's have a look at that. Looking on a different one because of where the UFOs are. So I have to scrunch that a little bit. Okay. There we go. Because I think my face might get in the way over here. So let's move it over a bit to the left. Okay. So once again, thick blue dot, confirmed upwards climate. Closest buy UFO is this one here, 1668.3 to 1647.0. Again, with buy UFOs, we expect there to be buy orders that would turn price and push it back up if price were to get there. And that is exactly what's happened here. So we can see price has hit it and it's gone off from there, which is exactly what we expect our buy UFOs to do. Still on the chart, so still a valid UFO. Closest sell UFO is this one at the top here, 1863.6 to 1879.0. Again, that's the closest stack of sell orders that we would expect to turn price back down if price were to reach it. Looks like we're about just over halfway there, on the way there at the moment. Okay, so once again, we had a thick blue dot, so a confirmed upwards climate. So let's understand the figures. Now, as I said before, not everything in statistics or probabilities is exact. Of course, there are things that go outside of it, and we can see that here on gold. So we can see, once again, rounding this number up, that gold normally goes up for 6 candles on a daily chart. So 6 days before it would change direction. And we are on candle number 18. So we are quite far extended, multiple times extended as to what is normal, what is average, what is probable, what is statistical on this market. So it can happen. Now, bearing in mind, the longer that we go overextended, the less likely we are to keep going in that direction. The more you pull an elastic band, the higher the likelihood that it's going to contract and it's going to turn. So it's the same here. So although we have a confirmed upwards climate, which gives us probabilities, we lose probabilities when it comes to the propagating figures here. Okay. So coming down to volatility, what do we expect in gold in terms of movement? So we're using GVZ.X or GVZ.X, and the annualized numbers are 17.70%. So that is the movement we would expect in 1 year on gold. Now, what that means is per day or in 1 day, we would expect a movement of 19.9 points. In 1 week, we would expect a movement of 43.8 points, either up or down. And in 1 month, we would expect a movement either up or down of 91.2 points. Okay, last but not least, we're looking at the euro. As I said before, we're looking at the euro versus the US dollar. So that is the spot Forex of this market. Let's go back here, Euro USD. Okay, once again, let's just move it so that we can see everything we need to see. So we've got a sell UFO there and a buy UFO there. Lovely. So once again, thick blue dot. So a confirmed upwards climate. Closest buy UFO is this one here, 1.1168 to 1.1070. I've just rounded that to the closest pip it needs to be. And once again, we can see, as we expect from buy UFOs, we have hit this multiple times and turned back upwards every time. That's what we expect from buy UFOs, because we expect there to be buy orders that will push price up if price enters them. Still on the chart, so still a valid UFO. Then we have our closest sell UFO here, 1.1740 to 1.1816. Again, that's the closest stack of sell orders that we would expect to turn price back down if we were to reach it. And as we can see, we've only just left this buy UFO here. So going back to propagating to understand it on the euro, this is what we see here. Now, as we saw, once again, thick blue dot, confirmed upwards climate, so a bit more probabilities in our favor. We also have probabilities when it comes to propagating as well. As we can see that normally the euro versus the US dollar would go up for 4 days 4 candles on a daily chart, so 4 days, and we're on candle number 1. So we've just started going into that average move. Again, of course, things can happen that are outside of it. It's just putting more odds in our favor. And as we saw, we've come off of a buy UFO as well, sell UFO a little bit further out. Now, of course, new unfilled orders can come into the markets and turn price as well. So just because we have a lot of odds in our favor doesn't mean it's definite, and doesn't mean there could be something or couldn't be something that could change it or be unexpected. So in terms of volatility for the euro, before we move on, we're looking at EVZ.X or EVZ.X. The annualized numbers for that, 6.68%, meaning we would expect a movement either up or down in 1 year of 6.68%. Which means we would expect a movement either up or down in 1 day of 48 pips. In 1 week, we would expect a movement either up or down of 105 pips. And in 1 month, we would expect a movement either up or down of 218 pips. Okay, so again, these volatility numbers are reflections of professional traders' opinions, and it gives us an idea of how far price is likely to go within certain periods of time. Climate and propagating gives us an idea of in what direction and for how long. And our UFOs gives us an idea of when that might change, when there might be orders that could turn the climate, could turn the direction of price. Okay, so we have a very slow week this week in terms of news. This is the entire week and we have it just today. So this is news that impacts US markets and has high impact. So if you trade markets that are outside the US, or you want to look at lower impact news, if you go to that link there, which is www.fxstreet.com/economic-calendar, you can play about with the filters so that you can see, like I said, different countries or different levels of impact of the news or reports. But when it comes to high impact US news, we only have it today and it's coming out at 10 a.m. Eastern. We can see it there. Once the data has come out, it will usually be filled into this actual column. Obviously, it's blank at the moment because we're yet to have that data, yet to have that information. So it looks like we might have a bit of a quiet week this week in terms of movement based on news. Again, bear in mind that today we have news coming out 10 a.m. Eastern. That could have an effect on the markets. Of course, news is an indirect force. The direct forces on the markets are buy and sell orders. That's it. That's what moves price. Obviously, news can impact those orders. So it's an indirect force on price movement. So obviously bear that in mind when you use it with your trade plan and interpret it however fits best with your trade plan. Okay, a couple of reminders before we round off. So for those that are not already part of the subscription service, where you can access our futures, options, stocks, investing, sharpening sessions, our SMSs, our support, and all of those things, you can get onto that if you want to on www.tradective.com/youcantrade. If you're not sure and you just want to try us out, that's fine. You've got free 14-day access, so you can see if it works for you first before doing anything further. Like we said at the start, in terms of the next course upcoming, it's our psychology course. You can learn more about how that works in terms of the modules and the instructor and the content at www.tradective.com/psychology live. And again, just a reminder that you can register for any course and choose an additional course for free. So it's a buy one, get one free type offer. The second course that you pick has to be of equal or lesser value. So go to the website and sort of play about with it in such a way so you can make sure you get the best out of that deal. And obviously in terms of what you need to learn as well from foundations up. Okay, so that's me done for today. Obviously we have futures and options coming up on the channel a bit later on. And at 4:15 p.m. Eastern, my colleague Boyan will be looking at what did happen in the markets, what went as expected, what went as we thought it would go, what didn't, and sort of round off the day as well. So we look at what could happen, we look at what does happen, and then we look at what did happen. So we look at it from all angles. So we'll be going into that 4:15 p.m. today Eastern. I'll be back tomorrow. As always, email us if you have questions on anything, just email us support@tradective.com. Otherwise, have a happy Monday, have a good trading day, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow morning. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.